If you ever buy a ticket and the seat number says something that should not exist, ask for a refund. I am not joking. I learned that in October 2024 at Dock Street Theatre in Charleston, South Carolina, when a stranger's breath touched the back of my neck and there was no one sitting behind me. The only thing there was an empty wooden chair, a printed ticket for guest 129, and a cold that felt like it came from a place before electricity, before the United States, before anything that belonged to the living. My name is Eric Dawson. I'm 34, born in Ohio, now living in Atlanta, and for most of my adult life I have treated horror like a sport. I grew up on American horror movies, binged American Horror Story like religion, waiting for every new American Horror Story season as if a new chapter in the national mythology had dropped. I knew the Stranger Things cast by name before I remembered all my cousins. I watched the Rockefeller tree lighting every year while scrolling Reddit threads about haunted hospitals and cursed MRI rooms. At some point I stopped being satisfied with shows and streams and started chasing the real thing. I told myself I wanted authentic American horror, not just what the algorithm packaged. That is how I ended up saying yes when a friend in Charleston called and said, Dock Street Theatre is doing a Halloween run and their ticketing system started printing an extra seat. You want content, man? This is your episode. I run a small YouTube channel and podcast called A Classic Horror Story, partly as a joke, because of that Italian film, partly because I wanted the title to sound like something people would blindly click. I review locations like the Stanley Hotel in Colorado, places that inspired Stephen King. I talk about ghost tours, urban legends, and sometimes random pop culture stuff, like how Cheyenne Jackson carried half a season of American Horror Story, or how Dave Coulier, being part of my childhood, made it weird when anyone tried to turn his face into a meme. I even did a whole episode on A League of Their Own, just to talk about how American nostalgia hides its own ghosts. Somehow people liked that I mixed travel, horror, and random references to Robert Irwin or Sarah Paulson wife, because those were literally the phrases they searched. It was all kind of a game to me. Until Dock Street. I flew into Charleston a few days before Halloween. The city already had that damp, old soul feeling. Narrow streets, gas lamps, balconies that looked like they had seen duels and hangings. Dock Street Theatre blended right in, an elegant brick building with a sign that made you feel like you should straighten your back before walking in. I had read about it, built on one of the oldest theatre sites in America, stories of a prostitute in a red dress, an angry judge still lingering in the balconies, standard haunted theatre stuff. The kind of material you plan out in your head before you even see the lobby. The night everything happened was October 26th, a Friday. The show was a modern stage adaptation of The Turn of the Screw, which felt on brand. I got there early, rigged my camera, and grabbed some B-roll of the facade and the street. Inside, the lobby felt warm and crowded. Vintage posters, amber lighting, perfume, and damp coats. I started recording bits for my intro, dropping lines about historical American horror, how this place made American Horror Story look like light entertainment. My phone kept pinging with notifications and trending suggestions, Rockefeller tree lighting previews, MRI clickbait videos, a pop-up suggesting a video titled Dock Street Theatre Haunting Explained, which I ignored because I wanted to go in fresh. I went to pick up my press comp ticket at the window. The girl at the box office was young, maybe 25, and she looked like she had not blinked in an hour. Her name tag said, Lena. "You are Eric, right? The podcast guy?" she asked. "Yeah, that obvious?" She gave a tight laugh and turned to the small thermal printer behind her. It spat out a ticket with a soft whine. She frowned. "Again," she muttered. She tore the ticket and slid it to me. "Row F, seat 112. Ignore whatever you hear about glitches tonight. Computer is having a breakdown." On the counter near her elbow was a neat little stack of rejected tickets. I saw the top one clearly. In bold letters it read, "Guest 129, balcony right, seat 129. "Thought you had 128 seats," I said. I had done my homework. "We do," she said too quickly. She pushed the pile aside as if it offended her. "Printer bug. It said it is some caching thing. The system keeps creating a ghost seat. Their words, not mine." She tried to make it sound like a joke, but her voice shook a little. I picked up my ticket, pretending not to notice. In the lobby, I did a short piece to camera about the glitch. If this were an American Horror Story new season, this is where the cold open starts, I said. "Printer keeps creating a ticket for someone who is not supposed to exist. Guest 129, Dock Street Theatre, Charleston. Place your bets." People laughed around me, the way people always do before the bad part starts. Inside the auditorium, the air shifted. Old wood, velvet, and that specific smell of dust that has been warmed by light for decades. The stage was framed by a thick proscenium arch, and the balconies curved along the walls like watching faces. I found row F and my seat, 112. I had a clear view of the stage and one of the side balconies. I took out my phone and snapped pictures, planning to overlay narration later. In one shot, the balcony on the right side came out a little darker than the rest. It was nothing, just a trick of the house lights, I told myself. As people filtered in, I heard two ushers near the aisle talking in low voices. "They said they saw someone sitting in it," one whispered. "Just assign them somewhere else," the other replied. "We do not even have a seat 129 in the system. There is no seat there to sit in." They noticed me looking and clammed up. The house lights dimmed, and that familiar murmuring hush fell over everyone as the pre-show announcement played. No phones, no recording, no flash photography. I shut my main camera off out of respect, but left my Apple Watch on with its mic running. I had learned long ago that theater line checks and backstage whispers sometimes made better content than anything on stage. The play started smoothly. Good actors, a well-designed set. I got into it. Then, about 15 minutes in, I felt the first cold draft slide past the back of my neck. It was not the general air conditioning kind of cold. It was narrow and focused, as if someone had leaned in behind me and exhaled slowly on my skin. The hairs on my arms rose. I tried to play it off and told myself someone behind me was messing around. The seats were tight. Maybe someone had shifted and created an air movement. I glanced back casually. The row behind me was half empty. Directly behind my seat 112, there was an empty chair. No coat, no bag, no sign that anyone had been sitting there at all. The woman 2 seats over was leaned forward, absorbed in the play. Farther down, a man was whispering to his girlfriend, probably commenting on the story, but the chair behind me was bare, its seat cushion worn and smoothed by countless bodies that were not there now. That cold breath brushed my neck again, stronger this time, as if someone wanted my attention. I turned fully. The chair remained empty, but for half a second I could have sworn I saw the faintest outline of someone's knees, a darker shadow against the dark seat, gone when my eyes focused. I swallowed and faced forward again, heart pounding a little too hard. "This is fine," I told myself. "You live for this. This is what you came for. Real American horror, not some scripted cutscene." On stage, the governess was hearing the children whisper at night. The timing felt like a joke. The third time the cold came, it was accompanied by a sound. Very close to my ear, entirely out of sync with the actors, a voice murmured in a low male tone. "Sit still." I jerked so hard my knee hit the chair in front of me. The guy in that seat turned back with a glare. I mumbled an apology, trying not to stare at the empty space behind me. For a moment I thought I was losing it. That maybe my brain, fed on years of horror content and algorithms linking American horror and American Horror Story in my head, was finally throwing something back at me. Then I noticed something on the stage that did not belong. Along the far left edge of the front row in the balcony, I could see the audience. In one of the balcony seats that should have been just an anonymous silhouette, there was a figure that stood out sharply. A man in an old-style black suit, narrow lapels, buttoned high. His hair was combed back tight. His face was so pale, it almost reflected the stage light. He was not watching the play. He was turned toward the main floor, toward us, his head tilted slightly downward. I felt his gaze line up with me like a laser sight. I blinked. The next time the stage lights shifted, his seat in the balcony was just another vague body in the dark, indistinguishable from the others. When the first act ended and the lights came up, I sat for a second and listened. A murmur had picked up, but it was not about the script. I overheard, "Did you feel that weird draft?" I swear someone was breathing on my ear during that last scene. Seat behind me was empty the whole time, but I kept feeling someone bumping my chair. Different voices, same theme. The woman 2 seats behind me was rubbing her arms. "I am freezing," she told her friend. "It feels like the time I had an MRI and they rolled me into that tube and the air felt recycled and wrong." I stood up and pretended to stretch, trying to get a better look at the balcony. From where I was, the right side balcony seats were numbered with small brass plates. I squinted. The numbers climbed neatly. 123, 124, 125, 126, 127, and 28. There was no 129, just a slightly wider space where the curve of the balcony turned, as if something had been there once and removed. Eager for context, I slipped out into the lobby. Lena was at her post, flipping idly through her phone. On her screen, I caught what looked like a BuzzFeed listicle about the Stranger Things cast, then some article about American Horror Story cast then and now. She shoved the phone away when she saw me. "You all good in there?" she asked. "Depends," I said. I kept my tone casual. "How many more phantom tickets did the printer spit out?" Her jaw tightened. "It printed guest 129 10 times in a row before your show," she said quietly. "Name field was empty. Just guest 129. IT cleared the queue. We restarted. It printed again when the house manager tried to print his own seat assignment. He said he had not even selected a seat, it just popped in." "Does your seating plan ever have a 129? I asked. She shook her head. 128 maximum. Everything here is old and stubborn. We do not change our floor plan for anything. We do not add seats. We do not renumber rows. It is like this place gets offended when we try. The second act went by in a blur of focused fear. I could not fully concentrate on the play. I tried to tell myself none of this was new. Lots of theaters had cold spots and ghost stories. The Stanley Hotel had entire tours built on less. But the presence behind me felt personal. The breath warmed and cooled against my neck, as if someone were testing the distance between us. At one point, I caught a whiff of something that did not belong in a modern audience. Not perfume, not deodorant, coal smoke and stale whiskey. When it was over, applause crashed around me. The cast bowed. The house lights rose. People rose to leave. I stayed seated, feeling a strange reluctance to stand up and expose my back to that empty chair. Someone brushed past me, a guy in his 20s who had been sitting in my row. He was telling his girlfriend, "No way I'm coming back here. That was some real American Horror Story, not a show." I felt somebody pressing my shoulders the whole time, and we were in the last row. "Stop," she said, half laughing, half scared. "You are going to freak me out, and I will never go to another theater. I just wanted to see a classic horror story on stage, not live through one." I waited until most of the crowd cleared and finally forced myself to stand. I turned, fully prepared to see the empty chair behind me. The chair was not empty. A printed ticket lay across the seat cushion, stark white against the faded fabric. Guest 129. Balcony right, seat 129, Dock Street Theater, Charleston, South Carolina, admit one. There was no barcode, no tear line, just the words. My skin went ice cold. I picked it up slowly. The paper felt colder than the air around it, as if it had just come out of a refrigerator. My thumb traced the black type. The letters were slightly smudged, as if the printer had been overworked or the ink was damp. Behind me, an usher's voice made me jump. "Did someone leave something?" she asked. I showed her the ticket. "I think this is yours. Box office glitch stuff." Her face drained of color. "We have been shredding those," she whispered. "They said not to leave them lying around." "Where was it?" I pointed at the chair behind mine. She stared at the seat number plaque on my chair, then at the one behind. "That is 113. She sounded like she was talking to herself. "This is 113. There is no 129 here at all." She took the ticket from my hand like it was fragile. For a second, I thought she would tear it up. Instead, she tucked it under her clipboard and forced a tight smile. "Have a good night, sir." Outside, the air felt too normal. People spilled into the street laughing, heading toward bars and late dinners. For a moment, I considered brushing it all off, making it an overproduced story for the channel. Edit in some dramatic music, toss in some references to Cheyenne Jackson and Sarah Paulson, crack a joke about how real life was just trying to keep up with American Horror Story. That is what my viewers expected. I went back to my Airbnb and opened my laptop. Before importing footage, I absent-mindedly typed in Dock Street Theatre Charleston Guest 129 into Google. No hits. Then Dock Street Theatre Charleston cold breath seat behind me. A few vague forum posts about balcony cold spots, nothing about numbers. YouTube suggested videos about the Stanley Hotel, an old clip of the Rockefeller tree lighting, and, weirdly, an interview with Robert Irwin. The algorithm did not know what to do with what I had just experienced. I transferred the audio from my watch first. As I scrubbed through the first act, I heard exactly what I expected. Dialogue, audience coughs, the occasional chair creak. Then I hit the time code, where I remembered the voice saying, "Sit still." I backed up 5 seconds, pressed play. There was the play's dialogue. Then low but clear in the left channel, a male voice close to the mic said, "Sit down, Eric." I stopped the playback. My name. He had said my name. I had not introduced myself to anyone in that row. There was no reason for my name to be in the house audio at all. I backed it up again and listened more carefully. The rhythm was wrong for modern speech. No casual slang, no accent I could place easily. Just flat, clipped, like someone from a black and white newsreel. Panic rose through me like a tide. I slammed the laptop shut and paced the small living room. My heart was pounding hard enough that it almost made me dizzy. I ran my hands through my hair and tried breathing exercises I had once used to get through an MRI when I was younger. In, out, count, focus. It barely helped. My phone buzzed. A text from Lena. Number came up with the theater's general line, but the message was obviously personal. "Hey, this is Lena from the box office. Sorry to text you so late. We found something weird when we closed. Can you swing by tomorrow around noon?" I stared at it, every part of me wanting to say no. Another part, the part that had built my whole identity on chasing this kind of thing, answered with a simple, "Yeah, I will be there." I did not sleep much. When I finally dozed, my dreams were disjointed and old. I saw the balcony arching above me like a gallows. A row of men in black suits sat shoulder to shoulder, faces blank, eyes like smoked glass. One of them turned and smiled, but his teeth were dark, as if he had been chewing coal. At noon, Dock Street Theatre looked innocent again. Sunlight poured over the brick. A group of tourists snapped pictures, probably more interested in its connection to A League of Their Own tours or random historical trivia than any ghost stories. Inside, the lobby was quiet. Lena waved me over from the box office. "I need to show you this," she said, pushing the printer forward. We kept having the 129 issue after the show ended. House manager asked me to print the closing report. It spat out 50 blank tickets with only 2 lines printed. She fed a stack of reprints through the slot and fanned them out for me. Each one read, Guest 129 Eric Dawson, no date, no time, no seat, just my name, printed again and again. I never entered your name into the system, she said. Your comp was done through email and manually added to row F. There is no guest profile for you in this computer at all. She swallowed. It is like something decided to create one. I tried to make a joke and failed. The room felt suddenly smaller. Maybe your system likes my content, I said weakly. She did not laugh. We have had cold spots, voices, things like that before, she said. We have never had the system create a person out of nothing or latch on to a name. I picked up one of the tickets. The letters of my name were clean, sharper than the rest of the text, as if that part had printed with more pressure. Why did you keep these? I asked. She hesitated. The house manager wanted to shred them, she admitted. I told him I would. But it felt wrong to just destroy them without showing you, like this is happening to you, not to us. Something about that phrasing hit hard. This is happening to you, not to us. I pocketed one ticket and told her I would be in touch if I used any of this for the podcast. She seemed relieved just to get it out of her hands. That night, I told myself I was done. I would go back to Atlanta, edit a toned-down version of the story, and pivot my channel to safer topics. Maybe lean more into talking about horror series, rank American Horror Story seasons, talk about cast trivia, rip harmless clips of Dave Coulier cracking jokes on late-night shows. I would let Dock Street Theatre be a one-off, then the dreams got worse. 3 nights after I came home, I woke up at 3:17 a.m. with my throat so cold it hurt. The room was dark, the air still and quiet. Yet my breath clouded in front of my face like I had stepped out into a Charleston winter. I sat up, heart hammering, and realized I was not alone in the room. There was a weight on the mattress behind me, not on my body, but close enough that I could feel the shift in the springs. A slow, careful pressure, like someone sitting down with old-fashioned manners, knees together, back straight. Every instinct told me not to move, not to look. The same way you do not look too long at MRI scan results you are not trained to understand. But horror and curiosity are cousins. I turned my head. There was no one visible. My eyes told me the bed was empty behind me. My skin screamed that it was not. The cold breath slid along the back of my neck again, steady and slow. Sit still, Eric, the man's voice said. House is not done. I bolted out of bed and slammed the light on. The room snapped back to normal temperature. The bed looked untouched. On the floor, though, right next to my nightstand, lay the ticket I had taken from Dock Street. Guest 129, Eric Dawson, Dock Street. Theatre, Charleston, South Carolina, Admit 1. The line with the theatre's name had not been there before. I wish I could say I did something brave. I did not. I took that ticket, shoved it into the back of my closet under a box of old winter clothes, and called my therapist the next morning. I left out the ghost and the ticket and just said I was having anxiety and intrusive experiences. She suggested grounding exercises and maybe another MRI to rule out physical causes for the sensations. I nodded along, knowing deep down that what was happening was not something the hospital machines could see. I never went back to Dock Street Theatre. I never answered Lena's follow-up messages asking if I was okay. I stopped posting to my channel for a while, the comment section filled with questions about when the next season breakdown of American Horror Story would drop, or if I would ever do an episode on Rockefeller tree lighting urban legends. I ignored them. Some nights, to distract myself, I ended up watching harmless videos. Robert Irwin feeding animals, interviews with the Stranger Things cast, clips of Cheyenne Jackson singing. Anything that reminded me that horror could be safely contained on a screen. Then about 2 months later in December, I went to a local play in Atlanta with my sister. Nothing spooky, just a holiday comedy. At the box office, the clerk printed 2 tickets and slid them under the glass. "Row C, seats 14 and 15, he said. "Enjoy the show." I thanked him and took the tickets without looking. In the lobby, my sister asked to see mine so we could check which side our row was on. I glanced down. "Row C, seat 15. Guest 129 printed faintly above my name, like a watermark. I stared so hard my vision blurred. "Everything okay?" my sister asked. "Yeah," I lied. "Yeah, it is probably just a formatting thing." I folded the ticket in half before she could see it and forced myself to walk into that auditorium. The show was fine, funny, warm. Nothing bad happened. No cold breath, no voices, no glitches. But a few days later, when I checked my mail, there was an envelope with no return address. Inside was a single piece of paper, the same thin stock as a ticket, and a single printed line in that same old-fashioned type. "Admit 1 seat 129. Reserved house will call when ready. No date, no theater name, no city, just a promise." You can choose to think I'm crazy, that I hallucinated a man in an old black suit at Dock Street Theatre in Charleston, that the printer glitch was just bad software, that my name appeared on those tickets through some strange bug connecting databases and autofill functions. Maybe that is easier. What I know is that once, in October 2024, I sat in a historic American theater and felt a man who did not have a seat breathing down my neck. I heard him speak my name when no one living could have done it. I brought his ticket home and tucked it away like a souvenir. From that night on, every time a system allocates me a seat, a part of me braces to see that number again. 129. A seat that does not exist on any chart, reserved in a house that is not mapped, part of some larger auditorium where the shows never end and the guests never leave. If you ever see it on your ticket, in some small line your brain almost skips over, do not shrug it off. Do not laugh the way I did in that lobby when I told my viewers this would make a great hook. Hand the ticket back, walk away, find another performance, another night. Go home and watch some safe streaming horror about other people's nightmares. Because somewhere, in some theater older than brick and wood and time, guest 129 is always seated, and he is patient, and he remembers names,